Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the first webinar of 2021 for Call Potential. For those of you who are joining us again, welcome back. I know I said I spotted a few familiar names in the chat there. And for those of you who are new to our webinars, welcome. My name is Alyssa, and I'm the marketing coordinator for Call Potential. With me today, I have Holly Fiorello. She's our director of marketing, and we're very happy to have you with us. So just a few housekeeping items, especially for the newcomers. We love to keep our sessions very, very collaborative. So if you have any insight, any comments you want to share, feel free to drop them in the chat, or any questions. Maybe you even have some tips or tricks for other operators out there. So awesome. So I'll pass it over to Holly, and we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Alyssa, for the welcome, and thank you everyone for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about meeting our tenants' demands in 2021 and how we can use communication and automation to be a vehicle of growth. Just a little bit about CallPotential. We're a centralized communication platform and a CRM software that operators trust to power their customer service. Most of the tips that we'll share today are indeed in our system, but they're also great tips regardless. So let's just kind of kick it off to begin with and look at what tenants are wanting in 2021 and beyond. Obviously, last year was not normal, and a lot of things happened, so we had to do business differently. So really, we want to look at, what are those customer experience trends, customer service trends, and are they still on track where they were last year and the year before, or are they a little bit different? So, and we did a little bit of research around it, and we found a survey from PwC, which showed that post-COVID-19, and I'm using post as in it's already been introduced to our world, not necessarily that it's gone and
past it, right?
Not going to be an issue, right? So 59% of consumers care even more about customer experience than they did in the before times when they're deciding which companies to support or buy from. And really, I think that's kind of obvious with if the company you're trying to buy from cares about you, they're going to keep you safer. And we all have a little bit, well, not all of us, I'd say some of us have a little bit more time on our hands to be a little more discerning and be able to do a little more research and without having to make, that immediate decision. And throughout this, guys, if you have questions, pop them into the chat. If you have, if you've read anything, you've heard anything, share it with us. We'll read it out for everyone. We're all just trying to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
So this was part of that survey that PwC did. And this is a survey around customer experience. And they asked, which of the following things are worth paying more for when it comes to a good customer experience? And you can kind of see over here, the higher the answers, the larger the circles. So we're seeing, we'll start here, up-to-date technology, personalization, human interaction, friendly service, efficiency, convenience, knowledgeable service, easy payment, kind of the core fundamentals of a good customer experience. So from that survey, we've taken the insights that speed is important, consistency is important, convenience is incredibly important, friendliness, and also human touch. So, base customer experience needs haven't changed as much, other than they're focusing more on it. Do we know how many consumers took part in the survey? No, but we can find out. We did know, I just didn't put it in the presentation and I don't remember. But from what I remember, it was quite a bit, but I'll find out and we can get back with you.
You can send it over, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so we saw those important customer experience demands. So, the biggest challenge that operators are facing today around being able to address speed, friendliness is obvious. You have a good, friendly self-storage manager, you're good to go, right? Good training, efficiency. That is addressed with technology, right? So taking all of those challenges that we have delivering a great customer experience, we can use technology with a purpose. Less frustrations, more problem solving, better notes, automation to make sure that when a customer asks to be followed up on, that follow-up is completed. And for our employees too, our managers, using technology to help them so they're having a better experience and they have more time to spend with a customer. All right, Alyssa, you want to talk about what makes a good customer experience?
Yeah, so let's move forward. So what makes a good customer experience? I know there's a lot of different companies out there. We've even had a webinar on it, how to kind of humanize technology. So obviously we touched on speed, friendliness. The biggest one though, the biggest pivot that we're leaning towards more is human touch. So Holly, if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide. So these are a few it's a checklist that we kind of put together with the key or the top tips that we would recommend. So obviously responding to every customer every time. You don't want to leave anybody unanswered, uncalled. That can create even bigger problems. So making sure that you are responding to people. Listen to your customers' problems and address their concerns. Obviously, one of the biggest parts is knowing that you are listening to your customers and responding to their concerns and their needs. Personalize your interactions and humanize their experience. So we have an example a little bit later on about a company that's doing a really great job at this, even before COVID. And then deliver a seamless and pain-free interaction. So obviously, giving them more ways to pay. So we've got some more data on that later on, but catering to your customers and how they really prefer to reach out to you and making sure all of your information is available. So, and then also empowering your customers with information, beat them to the punch at their own questions. So even little things like making sure that your website is updated, your location hours are all up to date, just making that information really accessible to them.
Those are really great, Alyssa. I want to call out the first one there where it says respond to every customer every time. CallPotential did an industry study, launched an industry study a few years back on which they called facilities. I believe it was 100 facilities to begin with, and left a message that they were moving to town next weekend and they were interested in a 10 by 10. And then they tracked what the response to those inquiries were. Mm-hmm. And only 7% of the facilities called back once. Wow. At all. So someone's calling and asking to rent a unit. And then only 2% called back twice. So, you know, if you're paying money for those leads and you don't have anything in place to be able to respond to them. And it's not necessarily a knock against the manager. They've got other things going on. It might've been more important that day. Right. Might have forgotten about it. But just, to keep that in mind, they've duplicated the study over the years, and I think we've now up to 1,000 locations, and the results haven't changed that much. So despite of having this technology available, some people are not using it to the full effect. And they may not track, so they might not know that every customer is not getting a response. Right. So this is where we come with empowering your talent. You have that great manager who's friendly, that's your training, and they want to be engaged and they want to provide great service. Who wants to go to work and is like, I just want to give shitty customer service today? Pardon my language. Nobody says that. You get tired, you get run down, like you're trying to do a million things. You might be, having a bad day. All these things could lend to giving a bad customer experience. But if you have a great manager that on a good day, they're just fantastic. On a normal day, they're pretty good too. You can use technology to help them with their tasks and kind of, support them. So empower your talent and your managers. And that's what technology is for, really, is to support us all.
Yeah, so on that note, kind of going off of automation, we want to hear from you guys. Are you using automation? Is it something that you're interested in? So we're going to launch a poll here, and we'll give you a few minutes to answer. All right. Oh, good. I see a lot of yeses already.
Oh, wow. Lots of yeses. This is great. So you guys are going to have some tips for us too, right? Once we get into those.
Right. We'll give it a few more seconds here.
If I put the poll over here, can you guys see it? Or no? I tried to put it over the screen that I was sharing.
No, I think I have to move it, so.
Okay.
All right, we'll end it here, but wow, it looks like 82%. Let's see if I could share. 82% of people say that they are using automation. That's awesome. I mean, you're already ahead of the game. I don't know how many of you pivoted to using automation during COVID last year, or maybe you were using it beforehand, but that's awesome. That's really good. So. Cool.
And also 14% are thinking about it and 5% are no so far. So hopefully we have something for you guys as well.
Awesome. I'll stop the results.
Oh, let's see, you got the cute puppy. This is for you. This is your slide.
So I'm a dog lover. I don't know how many of you guys out there have dogs or have other pets, but maybe you know about Chewy, maybe you don't, but they're an online retailer for pet supplies and pet food. So I personally think that they do an excellent job of empowering their employees. So they really position their whole brand as they're animal lovers too, just like me and you. So they only really carry high quality products. And they also have auto ship options. And one thing that I really love that they do is if you did have food that was on auto ship and your pet happens to pass away or something happens, they will fully refund you. They'll ask you to donate to a rescue organization of your choice. And then they also follow up just for that extra human touch, and they'll send you a bouquet of flowers and a handwritten note from the whole team that says, hey, we're so sorry. We want to send our condolences. So I just think it's really great how they empower their own employees to basically treat others the way that you want to be treated. So they really instill that into their company. And I love that. I think that's a great example for kind of humanizing the customer experience.
They were, and I agree, that's all great points. They were really groundbreaking in the customer experience field.
Yeah.
So much so that the co-founder of Chewy just joined the GameStop board, and the
really?
GameStop stock is just shooting through the roof right now.
Yes,
I don't know if it's amateur investors or if it's just like investment in general, but I think they were up like 450% because they did such a fantastic job with the customer experience and becoming a household name as a new tech company that, you know, they really—
And they've been doing it for years. You know, they really didn't have to pivot a whole lot back when COVID first started because they were already ahead of the game. They were doing this before. So I give them a lot of kudos for their whole customer experience for sure.
And my dogs get their own Christmas cards and birthday cards.
Yeah. Yes.
From Chewy.
Hold on, my dogs aren't getting those. Yeah, that's awesome.
A lot of dog food with 3 dogs.
Yeah.
So we're not sponsored by Chewy, but
right.
Just wanted to share. This is another example Alyssa found that she wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys remember back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, there were a lot of people getting kicked off of airlines for whatever reason. And Alaska Airlines was one of them that they had several different scenarios where for whatever reason their employees were kicking people off the airplanes. So what they did, because their customer experience and their customer satisfaction started to kind of plummet, they reacted really quickly. And they ended up putting out a toolkit app for all of their employees that they could use in flight or out of flight that would give them a resource as to how to react to different scenarios. So because of that, their customer experience and satisfaction skyrocketed. It went way up after they ended up deploying that. So I thought that was another really good example of using technology to your benefit and how you can empower your employees. So
love it. Give them the tools to be great. And a good customer experience doesn't just happen, it's planned. So we know the customer journey is kind of able to be duplicated, with small caveats here and there, but one of the ways that you can plan out your customer experience without taking into consideration, if someone's not feeling well or they're having a bad day is by using technology to automate those conversations. So, just off the cuff, what should I automate? We'll start with low skill work that gobbles up time, like repeatable manual tasks. Like if you've got a laundry list of people to call who are late on their rent that you have to do every week, or you've got your follow-ups every day that you have to go through. Do you guys, and also I want to ask you guys attending the webinar, if you have any suggestions of tasks that you would like to automate or that should be able to be repeated, whether or not you already have a software for that, or if that's something that you're looking for, or something that should be built, drop it in chat and let us know. So it's obviously an efficiency for you to be able to automate some of these things because you are freeing up time and you're not having to bring on additional labor. But it's also a really good experience for the customer to know that if they do forget to pay their rent, they're going to get a reminder from you. That's a customer service function. No one necessarily wants to know that their bill is late, but they also don't want to know that they forgot to pay and all of a sudden their unit went to auction. That's not a good customer experience if they could have paid the whole time. So here's an example. I wanted to kind of share some of our language with you guys in CallPotential. What we have when we do these planned out customer experience templates with automation, we call them workflows. And a workflow is just basically the logic behind when a templated message is going to go out and what channel that's going to go through. So if a call comes in, this is an example of automating a lead follow-up process. So a caller comes in, you take the call, they're interested in storing with you, but maybe not today. You've had that fantastic conversation with them. While you're on the phone with them, you're asking them permission to send them a text, but you're making it a value-added ask, so it's easy for them to say yes, and ask them if you can text them, because obviously you have to do that to be able to send automated tests. You have to have their permission. There are other ways around that. You can talk to a self-storage attorney, or I'm sure your friends on the webinar will be able to share how they text, since we have so many people using automation. But you just send them a text on that first day. I have day 0. That's the day you talk to them that they're interested and they did not rent. And we send them a text that shares their name, what you talked about, and how much the price was. So there, you're living on their mobile phone. We also send an email at the same time to be thorough. Again, it's a value-added piece, so they're not necessarily thinking that it's spammy. You've asked them, and you're making it easy for them to find that information. Mm-hmm. So then on this workflow example, obviously you can set it up however you want. Maybe on the first day, after you talk to them, they're supposed to call back that evening, they didn't call. So your workflow has a task that's automatically set up to remind you to call them the next day. So the next day you come in, you don't have to look through your notes and figure out, oh, what do I need to do? It's already right there that you're gonna make that call and check in on them. Maybe you left a message, you didn't hear from them. The second day, you're gonna send them a text message that's automated. You don't have to do anything because you've already pre-built this workflow. This workflow knows if you haven't contacted this person by day 2 or day 3 or whatever the logic is behind the time, it's going to go through. So it's going to send an automated text, and then the next day maybe an email, and maybe day 5 it's another call. 5 to 7 points of contact to follow up is a really good spot to be in. Unless they tell you absolutely not, they're not interested, keep following up with them, because we all get busy.
Right.
We're at work, we've got things going on. It's a convenience for them to be able to pick right back up from where they left off. So here's our first hot tip. We're using automation. Automation sometimes can feel impersonal, but by using a communication platform that integrates with your property management software, you can personalize it. So I've set up my workflow with this template here on the left. Hi, the first name is a keyword. The keyword is in the system because I put that information in when I was talking to that person. So it knows in my software that their name, the unit size we talked about, the quote, and the phone number of the location for them to call back. So I've set this up one time. I can run this on every lead. And this is what it looks like. Hi, Twyla. That's a Schitt's Creek reference, if anybody watches Schitt's Creek.
I got it.
Are you still interested in that 10 by 10 for $120 a month? We have a new one that just opened up. Give us a call, 877-552-2557. Also the number for CallPotential if you want to chat with us, to save it. So I didn't have to do any manual work. The system did the manual work, and I personalized it to Twyla with exactly what we talked about without having to do anything manual. The system did it for me. I provided a great customer service to her, and I'm also doing my owners proud by making sure that my tasks are being followed up on so I can get ahead of the game. So here's a workflow example of how to automate a collections follow-up process. Again, it's a workflow, so it can be customized however you want to customize it, whatever's best for you. This is just an example that we pulled out. So day 0 is the day that rent is due. We're not sending any messages out. It's our tenants know what day their rent's due, and we expect them to pay it on that day. If by day 5, they haven't made a payment, the system knows, and the system's going through the workflow based on the logic that they haven't paid. So we're gonna send an automated text. And the reason that we're sending it on that day, because we decided on day 5 is the day that we're gonna charge a late fee. So by initiating this workflow, we're reminding the tenant that their rent is past due, we're getting our late fee. You can also add a convenience fee if you'd like, because this is, again, is a convenience customer service function. Obviously, you've got to talk to, your lawyers to make sure it's okay in your state or wherever you are. Not a lawyer, just sharing what I've seen a lot of people do. So I can get the late fee, I can get the convenience fee. Day 6, they still haven't paid. I'm going to send them an email. Maybe they're going to check their email and pay via email. Day 7, send them back a text again. Something like 98% of texts are read within the first 2 minutes that they're delivered. 8, email. Day 9, maybe you guys still haven't heard from them. Maybe it's later than day 9 that I want a live task. Maybe I want to call them before they get too far behind and let them know that, hey, we're worried about you. You normally make your payment on time. I just want to let you know that this is, the next step type thing. So this is an example of how you could build out that customer experience in that journey.
And this is completely customizable too, Holly, right? I mean, I know when COVID first started, a lot of operators were softening their tone based on automating their collections follow-up. So I know that that's a huge thing too. So this is completely customizable across the board.
Exactly. You can send as much or as little messages as you want, and you are in charge of that tone of creating that communication. So if you want to start off a lot more gentler in the beginning and just reminding, and then get a little harsher as you get closer to the 90 days, you can certainly do that.
Sure.
And you can change it as you go. If they call and they are going to promise to pay, you can shut it off. You have complete control to make sure this is a personalized and relevant conversation.
Cool.
So just to kind of show you, I showed the previous screen. I'm talking text, calls, emails. This is how we did our end of the year study. We do it every year. These are our 2020 numbers. So these are the follow-ups that were sent. We set 31% of follow-ups were emails, 18% were texts, and 51% were automated calls that go out, a combination of automated and live calls. And if we look how they paid, we can see that they're using all of these avenues. So that's why we're kind of casting a wide net to be able to capture as many payments as we can, because people are in different channels at different times, and they want to use what's easiest for them and what their preference is. So where it says 14 million in the internal contact center, those are calls that went to an agent. So they asked to speak to someone and the agent helped them process their payment. Email, $41 million was paid through email. $52.7 million were paid through text messaging. So when they get that text and they are reading it in 2 minutes, they're paying. And 100 million were from a pay by phone IVR. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about why that's so important. We were routing those delinquent customers, since we know what's going on, directly to that pay by phone system. So real quick, automation hot tip, incorporate the ask for autopay in your process. So every time they're making a payment and they're using those automated reminders, ask them before they submit, last thing they want to go, with one click of a button, do you want to enroll in autopay? And it's an easy way for you to increase the number of people who are signed up on autopay. And we also had a client do a study recently that found out that those on autopay stay an average of, like, was it 2 to 6 months longer?
Yeah.
Pretty big numbers. So it's just an easy, quick thing to do for you to be able to enhance your automation. We're going to move into some communication trends. So this is how you can use your communications with your property management software and technology. So this is our first trend that we've seen a lot of our customers start to do, and this is integrating their call operations with their property management software. And what that means really is that the operators are integrating their inbound and their outbound phone calls into their property management software, and implementing a pay-by-phone system. So the gist of it is the integration knows whether or not the caller is a current tenant, and whether or not they're delinquent, and they'll route the call accordingly. And it's going to bypass the on-site location. So this is our smart route that everyone loves. And so basically, I'll put a little brain there because it's smart. We want to know if the caller is a current tenant when it comes in. Before anyone answers the phone, this is the system processing the call. It's searching, it's the call is tracked when it's coming in. It's searching through the property management software to see if the caller is a current tenant. If it is a current tenant, I spelled tenant wrong, then it asks if the tenant is delinquent or not. So is the tenant up to date on their rent payments? Yes. Then it's going to forward the caller to a pay-by-phone option so they can continue what they were trying to accomplish. If the tenant is not, if the tenant is delinquent, oops, I went the wrong way. If the tenant's delinquent, not delinquent, it goes to the IVR so they can finish their service. If the tenant is delinquent, then it's going to bypass the manager completely in the location and forward them directly to a pay-by-phone system. So they don't have to push any numbers to get there. We're not going to lose them and abandon them because we initiated a step. The system knows and it routes them right around. And that's how we see such a high number on the IVR for the pay-by-phone system. We routed them around directly there. We didn't give them a chance to abandon. And it also has done some pretty cool things. We found out that self-made payments have increased substantially, especially with COVID. Again, with the auto pay, we saw over the full year, we saw auto pay enrollments up by 48%, which is huge. Melissa, I don't know if you have any insight on why that.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you use auto pay? I know I use it for my phone bill. I use it for wherever it's available. It's the whole set and forget lifestyle. So if I don't have to think about my bills, the better, right? Like I don't want to have to go to my phone and go to an app and pay a bill. So auto pay just makes it so much easier for me and also for operators. And that's one less thing that you have to tackle.
And I think COVID's really accelerated self-made payments. No one's really going into the office, and some facilities aren't taking checks, and some people aren't writing checks, and who knows what's happening with the mail. Right. The mail is so far behind. In Pennsylvania, we're like a month behind, so right. I don't want any late fees. So really self-made payments are going up there with using this. Call volume to a live representative dropped dramatically, which is freeing up the manager to do other things. The adherence to PCI compliance was achieved regardless of where that person was, because they're not taking a call, writing down a credit card number, then going and putting the credit card in and leaving sticky notes around the house, around their locations. There's been fewer opportunities to haggle for late fees because you can't really haggle with an automated system, which also led to, reportedly fewer opportunists and awkward conversations. So empowering your talent, they don't have to deal with that. And you don't have to worry about a bunch of wave late fees either. All right.
So moving into another hot trend, using automation as a personal assistant. So, I mean, really automation is giving managers their time back so that they can really focus on having more quality conversations with the people who, they're really trying to get a sale from. So their leads, while they can also pass off the monotonous tasks like billing, for example, or frequently asked questions to an automated process so that they can have more time spending it on, what needs to be accomplished.
Definitely. So we hear a lot of times that people look at automation as a replacement for an on-site manager, and it's really not. It's a tool for them to be able to do their jobs better and to operate at a more efficient place.
Absolutely.
So by using automation as a personal assistant and not necessarily a replacement, we're seeing lead to rental conversion rates skyrocket. There's less waste on marketing spend because our managers aren't tied up in making those manual calls and doing those manual tasks. Writing down things twice and entering them once. they're able to answer the calls on the line that matter. So that money that we're generating for leads, those leads are, there's less waste. The leads are being worked at a better rate. And also the past due rent plummeted, and we didn't have to necessarily sacrifice our late fees for that to happen. It is a, cash flow for businesses. All right, so we had a little bit of a shorter one today. Go ahead, Alyssa.
So we do have a survey. I'm going to put it into the chat here, but if you want to go ahead and let us know what you thought of this webinar, if you have future ideas, feel free to drop them in there too. We also put in there if you are going to any in-person events like SSA, ISS, some of the state shows. So we're hoping that we're going to make it this year, but if you want to go ahead and fill that survey out, that would be so awesome. We're also going to include it in a follow-up email. So if you don't get a chance to look at it, then you will see it in the email for sure.
And this is how you can reach us, guys. If you want to talk further about customer experience, you want any more information, you want to let us know what shows we need to go to, we would love to hear from you guys. And if you have any questions, this is a perfect time to let them out there.
We'll give it a few seconds. Let's see. All right.
Well, we appreciate your guys' time. And hope to see you soon. We've got a couple ebooks coming out that we hope will be helpful for you guys within the next week. Thank you, Marzina.
Oh, thank you. Can attendees get a, yes, we will send the recording. So we'll send it out shortly.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.